Another video, and today we're going to be talking about this article by Nicole Young. She wrote an article for Elle Magazine about her experience with the Black Manosphere. Now, she calls herself a feminist, and she went out on a date, I guess, with a guy, and she didn't know that this guy was in the Manosphere. And when they went on the date, it was an interesting date with a person from the manosphere going out with a feminist. So ultimately, there wasn't a clash, there wasn't a fight, there wasn't no hitting, there was no, as you guys would expect, there was mostly a lot of intrigue from her. She was very interested about the Black manosphere because this is the first time she was exposed to the Black manosphere. And what's happening is now the Black manosphere for the last decade has been growing on the internet, largely from YouTube and TikTok. So a lot of people now are being exposed to content creators like Kevin Samuels and their thoughts. They get exposed to Media Tutorial, MTR, and then they're exposed to Donovan Sharp, O'Shea, Duke Jackson, Mominia Obsidian Ali. A lot of these great content creators started 10 years ago with this train of thought of the Black manosphere and the African American experience for largely men. Now, she says that a lot of it is negative because it goes after African American women and their train of thought and their behavior. So this is where she has her issue. But let's go ahead and go into her article and let's get into this. Let's get into this. So I'm going to share the screen. All right. And then we're going to get right into the article. So this is Nicole Young. So let me just pull up her picture so y'all can see who it is. This is Nicole Young. It's a writer whose work has appeared in Zora and Bitch Magazine. She loves to talk about race, Black womanhood, politics, children literature, and she currently lives in Philadelphia. So she met up with Mominia Obsidian Ali, who actually also lives in Philadelphia. So they had an interesting date conversation that you can watch on YouTube. Just go to Mominia Obsidian Ali, and you can go to his 45-minute interview date with Nicole Young, where a brother from the Manosphere goes on a date with a liberal feminist. So that was an interesting conversation. But let's go ahead. All of that is summarized in her article, which is interesting. It's always good to hear from the other side. You know, listening to the Manosphere for so long, you only get to hear one train of thought. And it's always good to hear, some of these criticism from the outside. So let's look at her image right here. Dominant masculinity. It's what the Black Manosphere is trying to go back to the old way of where the man was the head of the house and the woman was there to obey and nurture the children. So that's pretty much what they're trying to go back to. So a lot of brothers from the Manosphere, you'll notice they are conservatives. Maybe they may not vote Republicans, but they have a conservative viewpoint. Pair bonded. When people say pair bonded, this example is what's going on with the African American community, especially with Black women. From the 1960s, 1950s, from the feminist revolution, and taking pills where you can't get pregnant, and women condoms, and women are able to have multiple sex with different men and not have to worry about getting pregnant and avoiding STDs. This released a sexual revolution for a lot of women. So now a lot of women were behaving like men where they have more than one sexual partner, which, feminism is all about equality. But the equality comes at a cost. And the cost is called pair bonding. The thing about pair bonding is that the more sexual partners that you have, the harder it is for you to be devoted to one person. Like women that are working as escorts, prostitution, they have, encounters with a lot of different men. They have difficulty having a relationship with one man. For them to stop seeing all these multiple of men, they have to give up their income. They have to put their faith and reliance in one man that will be able to take care of them, clothe them, feed them. And a lot of these women, because they're so used to the prostitution and escort business, is that it's so hard for them to give that all up to be loyal to one man. So that's where you come with the pair bonding. That a lot of women, they're going out with a lot of different men. And now when they want to settle down in their 30s and want to meet one guy, it's hard for them to see that one guy because there's so many other guys hitting up their DMs, talking to them, and they're so used to that lifestyle to meet up with different men. It's hard for them to pair bond or to get married, get exclusive right to that one woman because you see all these other guys. And I had the same situation with this one lady, where this one lady would just see multiple guys all the time. And even when she was saying that she just wanted to be with me, I would see random guys in the house all day, all night. And then she would say that, oh, I only have friends with guys. Like, come on, all guys know that there's no such thing as friends with guys when you're a woman. So it's very hard for her to lead that lifestyle and be and have exclusive right with that one person to be married. So that's where that pair bonding phrase came from. High value men is something Kevin Samuel has promoted, but the person that, the originator that came with it, he doesn't really know, but it's been a word that's been thrown out for decades. It's just Kevin Samuels for the last 2 years has taken this word and he's pretty much promoted that the high value men work with a circle of numbers of 6. So they earn 6 figures or more. They're 6 feet tall or more. They're generally in shape, so they have 6-pack, 6-pack abs. So that's what. And then, of course, their member would have to be 6 inches or longer. And then, we're looking at men who have a strong connection with 6 other high value men. So high value men is what 80% of the women are looking for 20% of the men, which they consider high value men with all those 6 characteristics of traits. And that's where it leads to hypergamous. So hypergamous is always looking for the better deal. So in this term is saying that women, if presented with a poor man and a rich man, will always go for the rich man. A lot of the rich men will be in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. So this is why you see a lot of young women getting paired with older men, because older men are be able to provide and protect for the younger women because of hypergamous nature. But it's completely different when it comes to African American women. You'll see that this is totally different, that they rather be with the Pookie and Ray Ray, people that don't treat them right, rather than be with the guy that's going to actually provide to them. And that's where the disconnect is coming from. A lot of men are trying to understand through this manosphere. And that's why it was created, for Black men to understand Black women. So the red pill and blue pill concept, that all comes into play where, it's taken from the Matrix, where you take the red pill and you realize the true nature of women. And the blue pill is when you just go back and you live the lifestyle of, some people will call it beta. The beta lifestyle. So you have the alpha male and the beta male. Alpha male is the one that gets all the women. He's the one with a lot of options, the high value man that's willing to get most women. And what happens is when 80% of these women go for 20% of these men, you're leaving 80% of men looking around trying to get any play from any women. And a lot of these men that are getting overlooked to or considered invisible, they're the ones that will actually be good men that actually provide a house be family men. But what's happening is that a lot of black women are looking for these 20% of men, and they get upset when they're not able to have families with these 20% of men. And now, 60 to 70% of these black women turn out to be single mothers because they've been going after these 20% of men. And then they go on these dating websites trying to find this beta stepdaddy to come in and adopt all these children, adopt the woman and her debts, pay all the bills, and do all the fatherly role when he was not the first choice. So that's a lot of those terms come from the Black Manosphere. So let's go ahead and get into an article. All right. Let's see what we got here. So we're gonna go back. All right, my brush with the Black Manosphere, an ill-fated Zoom date. I wandered down an online rabbit hole into the hyper-masculine space for red pill black men. I believe women are hypergamous, of course. Women, outside of the African American women, yes, a lot of women from other cultures are always looking for the better product, for the better man, the one that earns more. And that rightly they should be doing so. That's been happening for centuries now. It is an observable fact. Well, yes, it's been going on for centuries now. So she talked about an hour earlier when the evening started going downhill. I began writing words I didn't understand, but I knew I heard before. So I added hypergamous to the list. And she went on a date with a guy named King, as he would like to say, and then pair bonded, high value man. All these words were thrown at her. When she ended her, and at the end of the day, I talked for nearly 3 hours. King explained that I was behaving in a masculine way when I invited him to meet me for a date. So, yes, men usually ask women out for a date, but, now that it's 50-50, women can also go out and ask men for a date. So, but she wasn't aware that this man was in a manosphere, so we can't really blame her for that. But, that would be a good thing if women went out to go and get what they really needed and not what they wanted. A lot of this would change. So if women actually went for the 80% of men who are invisible to most women, those are the men that you can pair bond, build a family with, and be exclusive rights just to that man. But what's going on in the black community, especially with black women, why a lot of them are ending up as single mothers is because a lot of them are going for a small segment of men and think that they're going to be the family men for them. So if 80% of black women are going for 20% of men, then only 20% of men of them are going to be married. And that's what you see in the African American population, is that 25% of these women are actually getting married. The other 75% are ending up as single mothers because they were going after that 25%. So have you noticed that a lot of these Pookies and Ray Rays have 5, 6, 8 children under their belt and never married, but then they still go after those Pookie and Ray Rays? Like NBA Youngboy, they know he's a bad boy. They know he's not wifing up none of these hoes that he takes up, none of these black women that he takes up. But still, he's still attractive to a lot of these young black women because that's what they're looking for. They're looking for the 20% of men. So that, I don't know, the thought process is crazy. Oh, he beats up his women and he has so many children. Man, he's so attractive. I want him. That's what's going on in the black community for the last 50, 60 years. At one time before 1950s and 60s, black women were married almost to 85%. Now it has gone down to 25% of black women getting married. And Black Manosphere will explain all of this. So she said right here that I was behaving in a masculine way, okay? Claimed it was a biological fact that in any romantic relationship, someone who's cisgender male, of course, needed to be dominated than other. And feminism was a force that only served to divide the black community and alienate black men. The last part came after I revealed that I am a feminist. Something he told me was usually a complete non-starter for him. So this date, this would be a great date. two opposites coming together and having a conversation. Let me see if there's any comments. There's no comments this time. So what she did is, it was like the trolls I was sulking around the edges of Black Twitter had jumped up from the technicolor bridges and wandered directly into my dating life. The sirens changing in my head throughout the entire ordeal bleated out one word over and over again: incel. Now, incel has come to the front of the page because a few of them have done a lot of dangerous things, like run people over, kill women, and so they've been getting a bad rap. So incels are men who are unable to get women without paying for it. So a small segment of men, so the 20%, they are able to get 80% of the women without really spending a lot of money. So the 80%, they are what you call the incels. So the incels are unable to get women unless they pay for it. So this is 20% of men. So, a lot of people put it 50%, but this is the 80% of men. So let's just keep it. And a lot of them are called beta male. So for months, I've seen similar words and these themes being used on social media. On Twitter, men that wield the particular animus against Black women are sometimes derogatively called incels. I have to find out how the language of chads and hypergamy. So chads are that 20%. These are the strong, muscular men, 6-figure income, over 6 feet tall, more than 6 inches. These are what you call the chads. These are all what women are going for. And hypergamy is the process. So they're always looking for a better deal. So you have multiple chads, but they're always looking for the best chad. So you could have a chad already, but you're always looking for the one that has more money. And that's going on for centuries. Women are always looking for the best deal. While when you look at guys are not looking at women and saying which woman makes the most money. Guys are looking at women based on their beauty. And most guys are going to go with most women. Like, it's a very small segment that guys will not take, women. Because look at this. You can try this experiment. A woman at the end of a party, at the end of the party will go to the center of the dance room and puts her hands up and says, "Who wants to come with me tonight?" 80 to 90% of guys are going to say yes. Even if that woman is ugly, 75 to 80% are still going to go with her. But if a man did the same thing and went to the center of that dance hall at the end of the night and say, "Which woman wants to come and sleep with me?" 80 to 90% of women will look at him as a creepy, they'll try and give him all these perverted names, a creep. So you see the double standard that when a woman does it, oh yeah, then it's easy for women to get guys. That's why when women say, "Where are all the good men and where are all the men and where are the good guys and where can I find men?" They're right in front of you. But the reason why you don't see those men is because 80% of those men at that dance hall are invisible to you. You're waiting for the 10 or 20% of them to say yes to you. So even when you get to the center of that dance hall room and say, "Who wants to come with me tonight?" you're going to see 70, 80% of guys come right up to you and say, I'll go with you, I'll go with you. So you have 70, 80 of these guys, but she's going to say no to all those 70, 80 guys. He's waiting for the 10 to 20% to come and say yes to her. And no one is going to judge her negatively. But if a guy does it, he gets to the center of the dance hall at the end of the night and says, "Which woman wants to come with me tonight?" Almost all women will say no. They won't even think about how much money he makes if he's doing well. Now, if he was a 10, 20% and he said it, maybe the 10, 20% of those women will go after him for that night. But that's the double standard you got there, where you get two different responses. The same thing with dating website. I created a fake woman's website and I put an average looking woman on there. And as soon as I started going on the website, the dating website, I would get flooded with hundreds of email messages. Now, 70% and 80% of those guys, those are all good guys, that would do the right thing and everything. But because of social media, women are getting flooded by left, right, and corner by all these different guys that want to take her out. So when women say, there are no good guys left, or where are all the men, you gotta call cap. You gotta call cap on all of that, because they've always been there. Those guys have always been there. It's just that they were invisible to you.
Oh my God. Stop it.
So later on, she goes, both terms I associated with was white men on the internet, and later claimed that women only date men of higher social status, which is true. It doesn't matter if the guy is a woman beater, if he has multiple children, but if the guy has a lot of money, you'll see a lot of these rappers, a lot of these athlete entertainers, a lot of these women don't care as long as the guy has money. And even sometimes it has nothing to do with the guy. A lot of these women just want to put on the pussy trap, like Brittany Renner. They want to lock in the high value man, get a baby by him, and then drop that guy, and then go through the government and get child support off of him. So he doesn't even have to deal with the guy for the rest of the life, but still get access to all his wealth and resource for the next 20 years, 21 years. And that made a lot of guys mad. That all started in the 1950s with the feminism. So a lot of these men came together and decided that they're going to make this manosphere to put guys on game on what some of these women are doing. And you see Drake was the hot sauce. He put the hot sauce in the condom because he knew some of these women are just coming in to trap him. They won't see him again. They'll just collect child support from him. So Drake, a lot of high value men know this. And now these women are just waking up to this. But a lot of men now, thanks to the internet, thanks to the Black Manosphere, are waking up when they take this red pill to see the true nature for a lot of these women. Let me see if I got any comments. So it says here in her article, it keeps going, it's less about incels in the case of black men than the manosphere. A more racially diverse space on the internet that includes men of all ages that have developed its own offshoot, the Black Manosphere. Within the Black Manosphere's fiefdom, there are many subgroups, rival influencers, competing philosophies, and myriad content creators. But all of them have one common thread, a concerted, explicit disdain for black women. Now, when they say black women, they're talking about African American women. They're not talking about African women. They're not talking about Caribbean black women. They're not talking about black women from South America. This is unique to African Americans women, because gender roles have all changed since the 1950s. So in all parts of the manosphere, men talk about the red pill, which is reality in the movie Matrix. So they take the red pill and they wake up to the true nature of African American women, how there's a lot of different things that are against black men that they can use, weaponize. So you got child support, you got alimony, you got the pussy trap, you got the rape allegations. Chris Brown right now is getting the rape allegations thrown at him. And, there's a lot of different things now. And that's why the Black Manosphere is trying to put a lot of these black men on game to understand what's going on. So it says here, the truth about women. In some corners of the manosphere, men grumble about the very popular YouTube Kevin Samuels. Now, everybody knows Kevin Samuels when he did that Average at Best. The reason why the Average at Best is a landmark video for Kevin Samuels is because it shows that a lot of African American women are delusional to what's going on right now. They are delusional. And Kevin Samuels exposes these African American women to their delusions live on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram for everybody to see what is going on. That we have black women out here who are having children with multiple different men, not looking for any commitment, and then they're still trying to get a high value man, but they know that when they're young, they can get these high value men because they're based on their beauty. But as they get older, you still cannot get those same high value men. So now they are upset in their 40s and 50s that they can't get these type of men anymore. And that's what Kevin Samuels does in his videos. He shames women because women are supposed to use their youth and their beauty to lock in a man, stay with that man for 30, 40 years, have children, be feminine, friendly, keep themselves weight in check, keep themselves, away from drugs so they keep themselves feminine and beautiful and learn how to talk. And that's what Kevin Samuel does, a lot of this stuff. And this is really unique to the African American community because if you go to any African countries or you go to South American country, a lot of Black women in those countries do not behave like these African American women who are over entitled and their behaviors. Now, Mr. Palmer, he talks about the baby mama terrorist, as some people would say this is a pussy trap, where this is unique to America because America has child support, alimony, causes, and divorce. These are the big threes that women use against men, that they can use this to weaponize against men through the law to make them broke, destitute, and even worse off than they were even getting married. So Mr. Palmer, talks about the baby mama terrorists, and the only way they can do this is with the aid of the government. So this is unique to African American women that they're able to misuse these government with child support, and they talk about all different ways that they can weaponize to do it. So Thunder Wallace, a 10-year professor, is influencer who works teeters at the edge of Manosphere, beckoning in Black men who might want to explore further. So yeah, Mr. Palmer does a baby mama terrorist. Minister Jap, he calls them the German shepherds. So baby mama terrorists, after they've had their babies and they're 50, 60 years old, Minister Jap calls them German shepherds. So now these are the ones that are teaching their younger daughters on how to trap men. That's the way that they did it. But they know in the end that it's not beneficial for the children to just go out, trap men, and then alienate them from their fathers, because you need a father to teach the boys how to be men. So this is what perpetuates in the Black community. Now it's 70, 80% of these single mothers, and we all see the effects of it. It's correlated with higher crime, it's correlated with higher violence, correlated with poverty, correlated with low grades. So Mr. Palmer talks all about that. Baby mama terrorist is not just about child support and alimony. It's also about terrorizing the children that they have and the after effect. So yes, she's going down a rabbit hole. Nicole Young is going down a rabbit hole. The Manosphere is such a big subculture that there's so many different things into it that it takes me to understand. So no comments there. Let's go ahead here. We got the next comment here. So she goes ahead and Nicole Young meets with the content creator Mad Bus Driver X1, MBD for short, who films YouTube videos wearing a helmet, would only consent to being interviewed over email. He's a founder of Save Yourself Black Men, or SYSBM, community, but insists the group is not part of the Black Manosphere. They are, claiming that the space has different goals and objections than SYSBM. In his videos, he spends hours describing the ills of Black women, the deteriorating of Black race, and the importance of travel for Black men, and the virtues of dating and marrying anyone but American Black women. So you need to stress the last part, which is the American Black women, because all of this Black Manosphere is targeted at the American Black women because, the government in America is really helping them to do all this. So the reason why they do the SYSBM, and I understand the SYSBM is because you'll see a lot of entertainers. A lot of entertainers, you will see them married with non-African American women. Because when they're at that level, making that much money, they are being approached with women, not only African American women, but also women from other cultures. And racism has really ingrained to say that lighter is better. And you'll see a lot of times that if you have a lot of choices, you're going to pick the best women. And women are judged by their beauty, their femininity, and also their nurture. And you don't really see that in a lot of African American women. When you see the stereotypical African American women, they're loud, ratchet, overweight, and always argumentative. So naturally, a lot of these guys are going for Latina women. They're going for white women. They're going for Asian women because they're more feminine in general. They're more feminine. They're more in shape. They're less argumentative. So that's why in the SYSBM movement, and entertainers don't even need to know about the SYSBM. They've been doing this for the last 10, 20 years. That once they get a little bit of money, they go for women outside the community. Even non-entertainers, the regular guys, even the regular white guys, they're going outside of America to find women and get married because they find them to be more, submissive, especially when you go to South America, Africa. The women are more submissive, they're more feminine, especially Asia. And it's a more traditional role. So feminism in the 1950s, what's happening to women, black women, has really changed everything. And a lot of guys, they still want to get married, but they don't want all of the bullets to their head that the American government, makes it so negative, puts black men at such a disadvantage while getting married. So they rather just, move to another country, that doesn't have these strong laws against men and get married to the women over there. So it says, protect your seed, black men. Invest into Asian, white, or Latina. So, well, not really with white people right now. They're also starting to experience in this revolution. But I can understand why you included that name. But it's usually Asian, Latina, and African if they want a black woman. So it doesn't really have to do anything with race per se. It has to do with the type of woman that they're looking for. Because even the African woman will fit this description. So MBD's language veers close to eugenics as he addresses the black man listening, saying there are going to be two types of black people in the future. One's going to be blackish and one's going to be traditionally black. The permanent underclass, what's that going to be? No disrespect. If you're a black man who needs to go save himself, go ahead. Because you can't save it. It's ingrained. You got to let the black race die out because they don't want to change. One active use of eugenics language was intentional, or if he was at all concerned about the historic weaponization of eugenics language against black men and women, responding SYSBM is about freedom for black men rooted in their ability to choose for themselves. Now, I disagree a little bit with MBD. Because I would also add African women to this list for an option for black men to get married with, because they are also feminine, fit, and friendly when you go to Africa. You can ask O'Shea Duke Jackson. He's from the Manosphere, and he strongly supports this. Mominia Sidin Ali, he said, the Muslim black women from Ethiopia, Somalia, they're also fit, feminine, and friendly when they come to America. So as long as they haven't been infected by, feminism, then African women in America or in Africa. Those are also other options if a man still wants to deal with black people. While SYSBM philosophy is deeply alarming in its foundation, the perception of black people as pathologically violent, lazy, and unintelligent is hardly new. The language of black respectability and the betterment of black race has existed for generations. Well, we know W.E. Du Bois and Bill Cosby has really been talking about that. The black manosphere is feared by their presumed cultural deficiency and shades of black respectability politics. So, they talk about the 1965 Negro family, case for national action, and regularly quoted text in the Black Manosphere, often referred to as the Monahan Report. This report has, for decades, still anthropological argument claiming that black people and their culture were at fault for their own second-class citizenship. Okay. You're going to hear this one again. Okay, no comment. So if you're wondering how a 60-year-old off-debunked government report holds so much weight among some black men, whom it seems to disparage, the answer seems to be, in part, is enduring place in white conservative talking points about black families and communities. Now, a lot of people pull up the reports and say that before 1960, black men and black women were married from 80 and 90%. We had the highest marriage rate. This had a lot to do with the taboo of interracial dating before the 1960s, and also some states forced black men and black women to only marry, and it would be illegal for them to do interracial dating. So on top of being a taboo, some states will make it illegal. But after 1965 and they got rid of the illegal, then you start seeing interracial dating going on an increase. But that is only 50% of the problem. The other 85% is 25% of black men and black women are actually getting married together. 50% are never getting married. So the problem with interracial dating is only 15% of the problem. It's such a small percentage of the problem. The large percentage of the problem is that black men and black women are not getting married. There's a lot of out of wedlock marriage, and this has a lot to do with the media promoting through the rap and music that a lot of men and women are not getting married. So the Monahan report is there, but I believe the real answer to this is that black men and black women are not getting married, and interracial dating is not a major threat to why black women are not getting married. Black women are choosing just not to be married. They rather carry before they marry. They have made it acceptable to get pregnant in their teens, and then later on in 30s, 40s, try and find a man that's going to marry them and all of their illegitimate children. So that's the real problem. Nothing to do with interracial dating. But it's only 50% of the problem. So they talk about, welfare queens, which is another reason why a lot of women have been able to perpetuate this, is that the government has stepped in and made it possible for women to have children. The child tax benefits, they have funding for how many children they have. And then also you have child support that's holding them up. And then you have welfare and the benefits. So a woman could have a child, before the 1900s. This would have been like, it would have been like a death sentence to have a child out of wedlock and no man to take care of it. But after the 1950s and 60s, there's so many government programs, there's so many laws that are protecting women, so then they can have single parent families and still do very well in America. So there is no real reason for them to even get married. Now you got welfare queen stereotypes. So it says here, a world away from women, a world run by strong men, unquestioned authority. That's what it used to be. On the Zoom date, she continues, King had also bemoaned the idea of black women leading anything from the household to topic conversation. His belief One clearly indebted to the legacy of Monahan report was that black men's supremacy in heterosexual relationship is the healing balm of black community needs to subvert a racial caste system. This is the answer for black men and black women to get out of the situation that they're in right now, is for them to go back to getting married with strong unit. But the way that the government and laws are weighted heavily against black men, especially, a lot of them have chosen not to get married. Even, having children out of wedlock with some of these women has also been a problem because you have the child support case. And in some common law areas, they have forced them to be married and then and put alimony on top of them, even though they were not even married to the woman. So now this Momimia of Sidney Ali, which is a big YouTuber in the Manosphere, so he's the co-founder of the Black Manosphere. So you got O'Shea Duke Jackson, Momimia of Sidney Ali, LAR Movement, Donovan Sharp. You have Solo TV 84. These are all these guys that have been in it for at least 10 years or more in the Black Manosphere. So it started off with a website, the Negro Manosphere, and then they moved on to YouTube, and that's been growing from there. The Negro Manosphere website is still up for people to go ahead and see. So it says, black women as a group have long enjoyed a megaphone to air out their grievances. Much of it, not all of it, concerning black men. And I got tired of being left out of the conversation. And this was before YouTube was there, is that a lot of black women like Oprah, Iyanla Vanzant, a lot of these women were given a platform to talk about black women issues. But there was no mainstream media, talk show that did anything about black male situations. Even Montel, he was a black man, and he could not talk about black male situation on his show. He had to keep on with the narrative. But with Oprah was allowed to talk about black women issues. So now, because black men have been silenced, they've gone to YouTube and decided to make their own YouTube videos. And a lot of black men on YouTube black women have tried to silence them by taking their channels down, trying to report them, and try to demonetize them. But that still has not stopped black men from using YouTube as their megaphone to talk about black male issues. So even when we want to have our own, medium for black male issues, black women are still coming after black men on YouTube, trying to cancel them, demonetize them, try to report them, even when it's a male space for just black men and black women were not invited, but they're still pushing their way through. But let's go ahead. Ali initially refused the interview until you read his, he has his book, one for modern dating for black women and modern dating for black men, because a lot has changed for the last 50 years for modern dating. The men are still trying to hold on to their traditional role, paying for the date. They're still expected to pay for the date. They're still expected to pick the woman up. They're still expected to, when they become a family, to make all the money and pay for all the bills. But the second that the man does not pay for all the bill, loses his job, all of a sudden the woman has a problem and tries to get that man out of the house. But when a woman, her traditional role is, to nurture the children, to have sex with the man, and as soon as she stops, the sexless marriages, and then trying to alienate the men from the women, there's no repercussions for that. And it's actually, promoted by, the government to keep it going, that they will support you by keeping that man out, because we have laws to attack him to get those resources out of him without him even being in the picture. So a lot of laws. So that's what Momini Sidney Ali is talking about modern day women, that it doesn't really work. This modern day dating, that if you want any type of, successful, is to go outside of the culture. So that's what he's trying to promote. Or if you want African, if you want Latina, Asian, white, it seems to be a better fit. And another part of his book, he talks about non-select men. So we're talking about the 80% men that are invisible to women, as I was speaking earlier. So he talks about that too. So, like the white manosphere, the black manosphere is right wing and politically conservative, yes, because they're trying to go back to the old way. And then packaging and repackaging this manosphere, it continues to grow. So it taught about, culture memes used to recruit young people, and the manosphere used as a tool for community building and self-identification. I look into these memes as cultural signifiers where I can signal to who I am, where I'm from, what I know quickly, by quoting a song and a lyric. So there's a lot of different jokes that are going on here. You two are a man of culture. They talk about the red pill language. Dr. Thunder, which, he's kind of Manosphere, but I wouldn't put him up there, but he's kind of Manosphere. But he's more of, the educated intellectual part of the Manosphere, which, if you want to learn certain segments, you can go to Dr. Thunder, you can go to Ike Ogiyamin. These are more of the intellectual part. Solo TV84, they're more the intellectual part of the Manosphere. So look, the toxic archetype of the black womanhood, we have the mammy, these are the women that are always gonna fight for the white man. So these are the women that are always gonna support the white man. Mr. Jap calls them, the German shepherds. So these are women that are always gonna keep the laws, always gonna try to, weaponize the laws against the black man with, child support, alimony, divorce laws. And then you got the black matriarch, which is what we're suffering from right now, is that single parent family run homes, 85% of them are by single black women. And then you have the Jezebel, the Scraggle Daggle. These are the women that are out here doing pussy trapping like Brittany Renner. They're trying to trap men for their resources. The welfare mother, these are the ones that are getting all the entitlement of being supported by the government. So all of them are pretty much put together, and these are like the enemies to the black manosphere that they talk about. So she goes on to say, black women's dehumanization by racist system and to mask the physical and psychological harm they experience. The black manosphere breathes new life into these long-standing cultural memes and helps to reanimate their virulence in digital spaces. You see this in Fresh and Fit all the time, where they bring up women and ask them questions, and they just expose the delusional that a lot of these black women are carrying on. So on here it says black women are 84% more likely than their white counterparts to experience violence, threat, and language on the platform. The vast majority of the language was racialized. That's because, the white manosphere deals mostly with white women, and then the black manosphere deal mostly with black women. So there's two different cultures here. Things that happen in the black community don't really happen in the white community. So that's why the black manosphere was created, because it dealt mostly more with the black community. She explained that on dating apps, black women are often not selected by male partners, and when they do garner attention, tropes of them are sluts and welfare queens also mean they face fetishization and derogatory language. Now, that's how she views it. When I go on dating apps right now, and I see black women on those dating apps, most of them, 89% of them, have children. And they're going on there trying to find a beta male that will come and wipe all of this up. But when I go on those dating apps and I go and look at the Latina, the white women, and Asian women, a lot of them do not have children. So you see the two different issues here, that they expect black men to, if they're dating with a black black women is to take on this extra problems that they did not sign up for. Why don't those black women just go back to those black men that they had children with and get married with them? But that's what I see when I go on these dating websites. A large majority of black women on these dating websites have children, and 50% of black men are childless, and they're not trying to sign up for that type of issue. And that's what the red pill comes in with. The reality is that you don't need to sign up for this issue. So Kevin Samuels made that analogy where, you have two different scenarios. If you had a son, he's talking to this black woman. If you had a son, black woman, and your son came to you and said that I met this wonderful lady, this wonderful lady, she has a job, she's working, she has 5 children, she has like 5 baby daddies, she living in the with child support, and she got alimony, but mom, she's the greatest woman ever. And then you have the other option. Kevin Samuels said, if your son, black woman, came to you and said, I met this nice white woman, this nice Latina woman who has no children, she's in her 30s, she's working, which option would you have your son pick? Would you want your son to pick up the black woman with these multiple children, or to pick up this white or Asian woman with no children? And, the lady kept trying to, fight, defend black women. But the better choice for all of us guys will say is the woman without the children, the Asian or the white woman without the children. And that's where a lot of these black women get upset when they see black men with these women, because they want a better option. So if 78% of these black women are out here with children, it's going to be very hard for them to find, 50% of black men who are childless. It's going to be hard for them to find a black woman without children that's going to be exclusive to them. So the better option would be the white Asian woman that has no children. That would be the better option. But Kevin Samuels, all the black women went such uproar. So they want their son to take the worst deal just because she's black. So that's the racial issue you got here. And SYSBM says that you don't need to take that option, black man. You don't need to take that option. You can take the better option. And even further that, they said if the option is not here in America, you're free to travel all over around the world. The world is so big. You got 6 billion people out there. 3 billion of them are women. There's 1 billion of them that are unwed, no children, and available for you. Then he goes on, with the article. There is an immense amount of pain its content creator appears to be in. Even this and supposedly clear-eyed truth. Their own rejection and ostracization has been transmuted into blunt objects used to bludgeon their way to supposed relevance. When I asked Ali what a realistic by his standard black romance movie would be like, he replied, 80% of guys get looked over while 20% of guys get the ladies, who then screw the ladies over, and the black ladies complain that black men ain't shit. That's the whole black manosphere in a nutshell. And the loss of black manosphere content creators felt at not holding a select or high value position in society is never channeled into anger at systems like racism, colorism, classism, fatphobia. That's what black women like to do. They like to deflect. They do not want to take accountability and try to use these other problems of why they can't get black men because of racism, because of colorism, classism, and fatphobia. But women decide who they have sex with. So if they decide to have sex with men that are irresponsible, that are not going to take care of them, and all they are is just attractive, then it's the black woman's fault for not being married and not having the father, because that's who they had sex with. So they can't come after these guys, who are not wifing them up, and tell them the reason why we're in this state is because of black men. The reason why the black women are in this single mother state is because of the black woman. right? So that's a whole issue with the Black Manosphere, in that Black women are gonna talk about single parenthood because of racism. Oh, a lot is because I'm Black, because I'm unattractive and stuff like that. The most attractive women in the world are Black women. Those are the ones that people are trying to get butt lifts for. They're trying to get breast implants. They're trying to get liposuction. They're trying to get, uh, you know, their lips done to look more like Black women. So it has nothing to do with racism. Colorism, light and dark, it doesn't matter. It's all considered Black. And fat phobia, yes, that's an issue with Black women. 56% of them being overweight. That is an issue. But you see Becky outside running. So you don't see Keisha outside running. So you got to put in the work. So all of these areas are where Black women do not want to take accountability for their own actions and try to blame Black men for where they're at. And they're the ones that chose the Black men that were not good for them, because they control who they have sex with. If you want to have sex with thugs, people don't want to beat you up and slap you up. If you want to have sex with uneducated guys, if you want to have sex with violent guys, then you have to take responsibility and take action and accept when an ill fate comes to you. But if you want to pass over guys that are the educated lanes, they're going to school, maybe they're not as attractive, they're invisible, but those are the guys that are going to stay with you. And that's the issue in the Black community. That's not such a big issue, because Asian community is all about, honor. Their family has a tight family, and their family would try and keep away bad boys and keep their daughters away from the bad boys, and they always try and marry up. Same thing with the white community. They're not gonna let some thug, some Jerome try and marry this Becky. The father is gonna try and intervene. He may even shoot Jerome and tell him, "You can't come and see my daughter Becky." And the same thing with so there's a strong issue with Black women just allowing it. And the Black mothers are letting this go. They're teaching their younger daughters. So at the end of this article, Ali asked me why I'm a feminist. I had answered a familiar question from my date months before in almost exact same way. I told them both that for me, Black queer feminism provides a lens and a framework through which to see myself and other people, all genders, more expensively. I explained that Black queer feminist scholars have pushed me to question the limiting nature of white dominant definition of masculinity and femininity. Talked about the freedom to see each other, especially Black people, home and react. So it's always good to see the opposite, of how women see the Black manosphere. Because it always reinforces the topic of the Black manosphere. And it keeps you on your toes. Always question your beliefs. Now that this woman has seen this subculture, now her beliefs are being questioned. It's like, why is there 80% single mothers? Why are 50% of Black men not getting married and not having children? Why is interracial dating marriage going up to 15% now? What happened to 89% of Black men and Black women getting married? So now she's going down this rabbit hole, and a lot of Black women are going to start to realize that Black men have a space for them to share information, and now they're being put up on game on the true nature, taking a red pill of Black women. Anyways, guys, this is a good article. That it's always good to see an outsider examine the Black manosphere. Go ahead. There's any comments? Anything you'd like to say, like, share, comment, subscribe. I got a Patreon down below. If you'd like to know more Patreon, you can subscribe and learn more. Anyways, guys, this is William from YouTube. Another video from Niggeronomy. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And bye-bye.